Hey guys, it's Raj Trivedi, and what you're about to listen to is an interview with our very own Brian Noon interviewing Garret Barcheski. Garret Barcheski is the director of Father John's Animal House in Sparta, New Jersey. You're going to hear a lot about Garret and his upbringing and some of his struggles that he went through life, and how he has a positive attitude in everything that he does, and how he brings the right mindset to work every single day. Without further ado, let's check out this interview with Brian and Garret.
But I'll start by saying thanks for showing up. This is going to just be another one of our White Deer interviews where we take the time to just connect with other people who, the short of the way we've been kind of discussing this is these are conversations with people who've been following their passion, finding their way, and then found some success on their journey with that. And that success, not necessarily financial or business, but just like things kind of coming together and falling into place. And Father John's is kind of the beginning of that, or like, not beginning, like where you've come to right now, what I want to focus on for the beginning of our discussion. But the discussion can branch off in any ways where I really just want to get a little bit of your story and kind of what's been going on, how you got to where you are right now.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
With that, if there's anything early on that you feel like where it all started, or how some of this stuff tied together. And again, this doesn't have to be a Father John's. This is a Garret.
Okay.
And how Garret found himself where you are today.
Yeah. All right.
And I guess with that, maybe I'll ask the first question of, why don't you offer a brief introduction of yourself?
Myself. Well, local to where we are now, which is neat. And local to where you grew up as well.
Yeah.
So, I grew up in Hamburg, New Jersey. Great parents. Was really fortunate enough to get sent through the Catholic school system, which, provided me with a great academic background and trajectory. And, to this day, I'm super grateful to have been afforded those opportunities and grow up in Sussex County where we are is just such a wonderful place, a really tight-knit community, good people, and people always end up back here. Right? Everyone thinks they're going to leave. Me too. Everybody thinks they're going to leave. Everybody comes back.
Mm-hmm. It's a really special place in that way.
Oh, for sure. Special in so many different respects too. You have the nature. You have your ability to feel like you get so far away, yet you can still be in the city, in an hour and a half, and down the shore in 2 hours. It's a really unique spot.
And then you can also, that same distance, go north and end up in the middle of nowhere.
Literally in the middle of nowhere. Climb a couple of mountains, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's quite an awesome spot in that regard. So, grew up in the area, left for a little, came back. How about your journey post high school?
Yeah, so that was one of those interesting things. So I should say, first and foremost, I really fought my parents on going to Catholic high school. I really wanted to go to public school for sports purposes. I thought I'd have more opportunities to play when I was young. Sports was a big part of my life, and I love that team atmosphere. I still do. In my job, I love a team. I love to work as a part of a team, and sports. There's nothing else in somebody's life like sports that can teach you those qualities of what it takes to be a good teammate, what it takes to be a leader on a team. And there was no arguing with them on that. It was, you're going to Catholic high school and that's going to be that. So, which again prepared me for post high school in ways that I know a lot of my friends that didn't have the Catholic school education were not as prepared for college and what was going to come. I thought college was a breeze compared to high school, and mainly because you were able to really dive in on your passion. So since as long as I can remember, always said I'm going to work with animals. And when I was getting ready to apply to colleges, it kind of was like, well, how do you go to college and work with animals in the type of manner that I planned to? I wanted to be hands-on. I wanted to be studying their behavior is really what it was. And, as a child, I was an addict of Steve Irwin and Jeff Corwin and all of these guys that were living what I thought was my dream. We still have home videos of like our first video camera we got as a family of me holding like my bearded dragon with a cowboy hat on, talking about, this is who they are and what they eat. And so I knew like I wanted to go in that direction. And so getting ready and preparing for college, it was, well, what universities are offering a academic track that's in line with what I want to do? And it came down to, I applied only to 3 schools. And I was ultimately accepted to the University of New England. And I was going in declared what they called a psychobiology major, which was essentially just the study of behavior. It was this, what's the interplay between biology and psychology? And then when I got there, they actually, this is how amazing it is when you look back and you think like things happen for a reason. My freshman year, they announced, literally like we arrived at school and they announced that they're actually going to split this psychobiology program into 2. One track is going to be called neuroscience and the other track is going to be called animal behavior. And I was like, what? Okay, this is great. So clearly I went in that direction and just thrived in being around like-minded people that loved animals like I did and wanted to have a more in-depth understanding of animals. And I had the best experience going through school. And even while I was in college, I was exposed to the animal shelter in the local area in Maine. And we were going there, me and a group of my classmates were going there and taking shelter dogs through obedience classes. And it got me hooked. It got me addicted. I ended up doing my undergraduate research in the shelter. And as soon as I graduated, then I did an internship here at an animal shelter here in New Jersey, working with dogs with behavioral problems, one-on-one, and journaling what was working, what wasn't working, and learning all along the way. Then when I got back up there, as soon as I graduated, that animal shelter hired me. And I've pretty much been in animal shelters ever since. It's been an awesome ride.
Awesome.
Can't make it up, man. Get a little bit of luck in there, a little bit of timing and hard work.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's actually fascinating. Raj had kind of mentioned a couple of times of he just really thinks that like we have so much in common. We need to connect more and things that I'm also so passionate about animal behaviors and animal psychology and things like that. I didn't pursue it academically, like professionally, but with my 2 different psychology degrees, like I'm very familiar with psychology, behaviorism, and then my upbringing and spending all my time in nature. And
well, listen, I've been in your house.
Yeah, right.
I've been in your house.
Animals is a big part of the way
everywhere
we were raised. And again, the dynamics of that can be explored in its own discussion at another time. But just my relationship to nature and animals, and that has always been fascinating to me. And then the amount of time I spent fishing growing up you could sit there and do whatever. You could throw some bait out and then just wait. But I was interacting with them, seeing how they responded to different things at different times of day, in different conditions, in different times of year. Or did it rain yesterday? Or is it going to rain tomorrow? Like seeing how they behaved differently and then how they'd respond to different things that I might do or that I might cause interactions, and watching how nature is responding, and nature, particularly animals, but also the plants as well. And I've just been fascinated with that and felt just such a connection to that my whole life. Then to hear that, like, you started going to school for, like, well, it's going to be kind of psychology and biology and maybe like the physiological psychology. And they're like, actually, we're going to separate this into 2 so we can have Garrett's curriculum as he starts here. Like, what an awesome, like, coincidence of timing there, or synchronicity, what we might call it.
Or fate. But in all seriousness, fishing, I'm like a fishing addict as well. And I think having that exposure at a young age and having those amazing experiences with my dad, bringing me fishing, and I know you had a tight-knit family that had those outdoor experiences together. And again, Sussex County is such a huge part of that, right? Like I could fish, I could walk to the Wallkill River and fish, and get lost, and no cell phones. And that's what, to your point, fishing for me fills two necessary voids that need to be filled in my life, in my brain, and my soul. One being this study of fish behavior, right? It's this living, breathing puzzle of trying to solve, well, what are they going to eat? How are they going to eat it? And admiring the beauty of them and how they behave and their differences between species. And, it really is like playing Sudoku, but with real life, But it also fills this need for quiet and this sense of grounding that you get when you're in the middle of nowhere with nobody around, no distractions, no noise. And I've always loved that about nature. And animals obviously are a piece of that, because then when you're just sitting there still and observing what's happening around you, you develop a much deeper appreciation for what these animals are doing and why they're doing it. And you feel so much more connected to something so much bigger than yourself. And, you too, you probably have, because you have such a beautiful spot, but we had a backyard growing up, and it became like my haven. I would play fetch with my dog and then just lay there for hours, listening, watching the movement amongst the grass as ants move around. And in those moments is ultimately what sparked this desire to go on the track that I ended up on. So, I hear you on the fishing thing for sure.
Yeah, and
for sure. Special.
For like Raj, for instance, grew up right 2 doors down from me. Similar, same access, but different family culture, different
Totally
lifestyle.
different dynamic. Yeah.
So for those like Raj or otherwise who don't go fishing, and maybe that's not going to be their thing, you and I understand that relationship, that depth, where that goes. But then there's also, you could go bird watching, you could go hiking, you could be into mycelium and fungi and go explore those avenues.
For sure.
Or it could just be, whether it's different types of wildflowers or whatever your thing is you're into, nature has so much beauty in life that's always there, always present, and it's finding your connection. Like you said, playing fetch with your dog, and then you start to become connected to, aware of nature, the ants, the critters, the plant life. There is this flow that is continuously alive in nature, and when we have these opportunities, especially in our childhood, to connect to it, for me, it become like a lifelong part of me. And like you even acknowledge, and I think so beautifully, like it fills those voids we have within us for that connection to something bigger. Nature can fill that bigger and better than anything else I have found.
For sure. Undoubtedly. But I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, it's that early exposure. You gotta get out there when you're young and you still have that innate curiosity, because I know some of my friends that grew up in Bayonne or Jersey City and then moved out here. It's a totally different level of exposure, where at first it's kind of fear. And definitely. This is so strange to me. And so I do think, if you get out there, you have a family that pushes you out there when you're young, you get thirsty for it, and then you keep wanting to go back and drink it for the rest of your life. Yeah. Like I could never imagine not being surrounded by nature now where I'm at. It would be, I can't even think like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go somewhere where I'm going to have to travel to experience nature. It just can't happen. I want to open my door and experience it right there, Yeah,
that's something that is so true for me in my life as well, that the people who are really close to me, I'm grateful for. And like Raj even said it to me like a week or so ago, where they're like, I think you need to go spend some more time outside. When I'm not spending enough time outside, my spirit starts to the light dims a little bit.
For sure.
And then I go back and it's like, and it's because of circumstances, weather a little bit, but it's really, I just get caught up in the busyness of society to-dos. Yeah. Where most every night I'll sit outside for 1 to 2 hours, just on a porch and listen to the evening critters and just enjoy nature. Even if I can't go out for a hike that day or be out in the sun or whatever it might be, in the evening before I go in. I connect with it.
You're right there.
I need that.
Yeah.
Listening to either just the wind through the trees, or most nights I'll get to hear some owls and some of the coyotes off in the distance and things like that. There's actually a bunch of fox that live around me and Raj, and I hear them yipping and chirping and all their weird sounds.
They make weird noises. Yeah, weird
but
noises.
I enjoy that connection and that stillness, that slowing down and coming back into this. Again, I don't have better words for it other than this continuous flow of life that is nature, that we've kind of become disconnected from as a society. And then, like you were saying, for some of these people who grew up in cities, they come and experience nature, whether it's up in Sussex County or when I lived out in Montana, there's people all coming out there and for college or whatnot might have come from a city. And then I meet those folks. And for a lot of people, their first exposure out into the vastness of nature, their response is fear.
Yeah. What is that?
I don't feel safe. I'm not familiar with the sounds. I'm not familiar with the environment. I don't know what the cues are. So there's their threat assessments constantly trying to figure out, am I safe? Because I don't know. And then they also are like, where's all the people?
Yeah.
And to me, when I'm around all the people, I'm like, I need to get out of here.
It's the same thing, though.
They're like, where's the people? Right. When I'm around people, it's like, oof, I need to figure this out and get out of here.
I'm going through this personally right now because, I love to camp. And, me and my wife are celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
And not once has she slept in a tent. And the other day, she sent me a message. So there's a great place here in New Jersey that has a campground that you can only access by a 6-mile hike or a boat trip across the reservoir. And it's one of my favorite spots. And my son has been there with me and everything. And my wife sends me a message the other day. What do you say for our anniversary? Your sister watches the kids and we go camping here. And I said, I don't know if that's the right first exposure for you because you are way out there. I mean, there is it's not like the campground experience, right? Like we've had the campground experience, but she's always staying in a cabin or whatever. This is I was a little apprehensive. Of course, I want to go with her.
Right.
I think, and I super appreciate her saying, let's do something you want to do. But I'm a little worried about her getting that first exposure being that far out,
Especially as a mom of young children.
Yeah, got to get home, going to be nervous.
To us guys, we still, that responsibility, that care, that protection, the provider stuff is there. But it's different than the anxiety that a mom has when she's not around her children and can't be there right away.
For sure. Or connect with someone that's there, or whatever.
Right. So to be out in the woods, and maybe there's not self-service where you're going, I don't know, but to be that far removed where it's like, okay, well, something happened, let's get home. It's like, well, we got to hike out of here first.
Well, my anxiety, when I took River out there, my son, he was only 5 years old at the time. And I did not bring any sort of, with those types of trips, some of it is so last minute because it's so weather dependent. Like, are we going to go or are we not? And so this was the day before the weather patterns were working out. I was like, the bite might be on. We might be able to catch a lot of fish. Let's go have this experience as you and me. And we packed the boat up and everything. And we're getting across the lake. And I realized I have 15% battery left on my phone and no power to power it. So I had a little bit of anxiety. I'm not going to lie. That first night we're laying there and I'm thinking, okay, we're here for 2 nights. And if my phone dies and it's unusable and something happens to him that really requires a true emergency response, we are way out. And that first night, it took me a long time to fall asleep because I was just racking my mind about what am I going to do if he falls in the fire? What am I going to do if he cuts himself? What am I going to do? And what a learning experience that in and of itself is, to think, okay, you took this on, man. You put us out here. You forgot to charge your phone. You forgot to bring the battery back up. This is on you, and he can't know about it because I never wanted him to feel like I was anxious or nervous or whatever.
Or that, wait, we're not safe.
Yes.
Plant that in his mind.
Exactly. Right. It's got to be that positive experience. It's like when you go fishing for the first time, you got to catch fish, or they never want to go again. He's got to enjoy it, or we're never going to get back out here. So, I don't know. We'll see if me and her go or not. Still up in the air. Still up in the air.
Yeah, I've definitely gone on some trips with folks in their first trips that were, depending on your perspective, absolutely amazing trips. But these people were miserable. Mm-hmm. They had a horrible time. They did not enjoy it. There's one trip that was one of my favorite trips. We went and kayaked down the Delaware, went up an island and camped on the island for the night, and then kayaked down more.
It's the best.
And slept in hammocks. It was amazing. And the entire trip, the one gal who had never been camping or kayaking or any of this stuff before, city girl. Like, we're in New Jersey. You don't realize there's amazing stuff right here that people don't know. And we went, and it was an awesome trip for me. And the gal's brother, who was my buddy, she cried the whole time. She was miserably uncomfortable.
And there's no out in that type of trip either.
And it was like what we put in. Yeah. We the second day, she paddled that kayak. To get to the boat ramp so she could be done. Like, she was paddling downriver as hard as she could, maybe still crying, or maybe she was dehydrated all of those out. And I felt horrible because, to me, we had such an amazing weekend with nature. There was toad spawning that happened.
Oh, yeah.
And hundreds of thousands of toads covered the banks where we're in our hammocks. But if you tried to step to, I have to go to the bathroom, you got to brush toads out of the way for each step to put your foot down because the ground was covered in them. I've never experienced anything like that with the toads anyway. We saw beavers, we saw snapping turtles, we were catching fish, we're seeing all different types of duck. It was awesome.
It's the best national forest I think there is, honestly.
They're all amazing. Honestly. I've been to so many of them, and they're all.
I'm biased, man. The Delaware River is the best. Similar experience with Raj. I don't know if Raj ever told you about this, but he had never been camping before either. And our buddy Dan, me, and Raj decided we were going to go out on the Delaware, camp on an island. And last minute, as we're doing the final touches packing, we realized we can't fit the tent. And so Dan and I looked at each other and just kind of did one of these, packed everything up, and my wife dropped us at the spot. We drop in, we're kayaking down the Delaware, we get to the island, we get up to the spot, we're like, this is the perfect spot, we're going to camp right here, Raj goes, all right, where's the tent? Raj, we didn't bring a tent. What do you mean we didn't bring a tent? We didn't bring a tent. So he really got thrown to the wolves, but God bless him. You know how Raj is. He kept such a great attitude to the whole thing. And he's been camping since. So it didn't deter him. Like you said, it's all about that perspective.
Right.
Like he could have easily been like, why'd you guys do this to me? There's no way we're going to survive. I'm going to be so uncomfortable. But that's everything in life is that perspective. You have to remain optimistic, positive, and then that's what you get in return. Whatever you're going to put out, you're going to get. And we left that trip thinking we had the best trip of our lives. We got really sick afterwards. But when we first got back, we were like, man, this was a great trip, Yeah,
I will add that this gal has gone camping since.
Good.
Car camping.
Good to hear.
Loved it. Had a great time with the conveniences and the comforts and more people around and guitars or whatever. I wasn't there on those trips, but I've heard that she's since gone camping, has enjoyed it. No crying.
Good.
And it was honestly, after that trip, it was a good learning opportunity for me of not everyone's going to enjoy what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Even if I bring the energy, the attitude, no, you don't understand, the beauty, and I know all of this, I can teach you about it, I'll expose you in safe way. We were safe the whole time. I knew what was going on. I knew the sounds. I'm familiar with the area and the animals and how to respond to them. We were totally safe. She just didn't know. Mm-hmm. And she didn't know enough to feel safe and to be comfortable, that she kept asking me, why are you calm right now? I'm like, because there's no threats. How do you know? I'm like, because I'm familiar with what the sounds are. And nature is telling me we're fine right now. They will respond if a threat is coming, and I will respond accordingly, and I will tell you, and I'll keep you safe, which helped her but she was just so out of her element. And that's where not everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to enjoy the same thing. We all have different preference in music and food tastes and in our leisure activities. Nature is for everyone, but the way you interact with it and enjoy that or not is going to differ from person to person.
Yeah, it's like any form of entertainment. It's just how you absorb it, what you take out of that experience is going to drive whether you do it again, how more, whether you do it more frequently or less frequently. We see a lot of that sort of just stepping out of your comfort zone and then feeling like the level of unknown is so great that I have to be nervous with dogs. A lot of people who have not been exposed to them are not equipped with the tools to observe and react in real time to what that dog is feeling or saying they're feeling in that moment. Their first response is nervousness, and we have a close friend of ours who was nervous of dogs for years, and just through that constant exposure, you gain those experiences, you gain that confidence, and then that familiarity.
Good exposures.
Yes, yeah, good exposures, yeah, for sure. And then you develop more confidence, and ultimately then you feel more comfortable in those situations. So it's not only what you take out of it, it's if you hold on to what you learn as you're going through these experiences, that's going to determine whether you like it the next time you're exposed to it or if you're going to react the same way.
Yeah, awesome. I actually, if you're all right with that, I want to spend a little more time on this subject and subject matter of these exposures, and in particular with dogs or animals, but we'll use dogs as our starting off point anyway, of, as you are well aware, you read the dog, and that should dictate how you interact with that dog. You're not going to just go do the same thing to any new dog that you just walk into a room and, oh, hey, bud, and go rub its head. What if that dog's been abused? What if that dog's got a sore on its head? If you pay attention to it, just like you would do with a person, you walk into a room and you read the room a little, right? Especially if it's someone you've never met before. As we've interacted enough, hopefully, as humans to be socialized, that we understand what some of those rules are of when you enter a room and how to engage with someone. You don't just walk up and just start like rubbing someone's head or whatever and be like, dude, you don't know me. What are you doing? But if it's your buddy or your brother, it's a different dynamic. If someone's not been socialized with dogs or animals, they don't really know how to interact with them well. So then there's that anxiety of, I don't know what to do. Or the person doesn't have that appropriate, I don't know what to do, and they just go do whatever. And that's how they end up getting bit or whatever. But usually people like, oh, I don't know dogs that well. But there is a real threat. The dog could bite you. The dog could hurt you. And if you don't know them well, that anxiety is there to protect you. It is a good anxiety to have. It's a normal, healthy defense mechanism as a human. But dogs aren't bad, right? So you shouldn't be afraid of all dogs in all circumstances all the time. So it's this exposure, that education, that like, no, let me show you. Like, we'll ease into it.
Well, it's interesting because it kind of parallels what we were talking about with your exposure to nature at a young age. You're a little bit more equipped to absorb that information and retain that information. Like I grew up with dogs in the house. And I don't take it lightly when I find out that somebody didn't, because I lived with them. And when you're living with something from you're a toddler on, you're obviously going to develop those skills naturally. Mm-hmm. So that's, I was thinking about two things while you were talking about that. One is, yes, there should always be this level of understanding that my anxiety or my nervousness is keeping me safe, because one of the most dangerous things we see are people thinking, every dog loves me. This dog's going to love me right now. It's this overconfidence, this inflated ego and overconfidence that puts that person in harm's way and ultimately doesn't do the dog a service, because if something bad happens, now it's a black mark against that dog. In our line of business, when we're rehoming pets, which you have to take, there's a huge amount of responsibility in doing that. any sort of situation that ends negatively for the person and that dog can affect their rehomability, right? So we see it all the time, and that overconfidence is a detriment to the pet. So, people should feel that and own it and know it's actually a good thing. It's okay, I'm a little nervous, and secondly, like you brought up, which is how do you educate people on it? Because on reading the dogs, that is, and reacting, because people have different levels of sociability, right? And can read different social cues better than others. Interpreting body language is a skill, for people that we learn because we're exposed to each other our whole lives, right? Like from the moment we're born, mom grabs us and immediately I'm starting to read their face, understand their voice and inflection. And so I luckily came home as that baby and was around a dog immediately. And now with how popular dogs are as pets, a lot of people are having that same experience. So we are getting better, but there's still this, well, I've never been around dogs. My parents didn't have dogs. How do you educate them? The reality is you are never going to recreate that level of exposure as growing up with them. And you could study it. Some of it is an innate ability. Like we call it dog sense, either you have it or you don't. And in my career, I've luckily had bosses and mentors who all universally throughout the industry talk about that. Like either you have it or you don't. And often we're talking about that in the context of hiring an employee. And so you want to see this employee interact with pets. But right now at Father John's, we actually have an employee who wants to stay in this industry, wants to be around dogs, but didn't grow up with dogs. And you can tell he still has it. So even though he didn't, it's almost like this nature via nurture type thing. Like you weren't born with it or exposed to it your whole life, but there's still a piece of you that had that innate ability, his comfortability, his confidence, his ability to read and react. And it can't be taught, I mean, you can be, I've done working with private clients on behavior and there are some clients that are super easy to work with because they're on the cusp of it. Like they have it, it's there. They just got to fine tune it. Yeah. And then you have other clients where it's like, man, I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to communicate why I'm doing what I'm doing because they are so out in left field on reading this dog, way off cue. It's a really interesting thing. And I mean, to this day, the study of the dog continues, and anybody that tells you they know exactly what a dog is thinking is lying to you. There's no way we ever could. And just like us, they're all so different. So how social this dog is going to be different than that dog. How this dog interacts with you is going to be different than this dog. How that dog feels in a crowd is going to be different than this dog. And there's still the whole underlying physiology as well. Maybe that dog doesn't feel good today, right? Like just because there's such a love of the dog because they are a constant in our life. Right? Like I love having dogs around because they're almost a way to connect to nature. Yeah. They bring things back to simplicity. They remind you how to be happy and joyful no matter what's going on. But they also provide you with this routine and this constant that we all crave. Yeah. Every day I come home, my dog's going to be the same way, and I crave that. I'm going to feed them the same time every day.
They will remind you all the time that they love you.
Yes.
And it gives you something to take care of. And that bond and, like you're saying, the consistency of that just provides such an internal security.
But sometimes, though, that overshadows that, given the right context or environment, that constant can shift. We see it a lot with a stress response, coming to a shelter. Who this dog was at home. It sounds wonderful. But now everybody responds to stress differently, responds to a shift in environment differently. So that's where you have to have that heightened sense of, I'm going to read the dog and I'm going to respond in how I believe the dog wants me to. Make them feel the most comfortable, keep myself safe, and keep them safe. And then you would start to apply that to your everyday life when you go to your family's house or whatever, and you're constantly trying to educate, your family members, hey, if you don't mind, leave the dog behind. We're going to have this going on or that going on, because we all want to bring them with us. And when you're that person that feels like you have a good dog sense, sometimes you have to take on that role within your family or your friend group and say, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but the last time you brought your dog, you was really stressed out. This was going on or that was going on. Often you'll find they had no idea, because they're so caught up in making sure that dog is with me. I love my dog. They know the only way I can show my dog I love them is they have to be with me all the time, that they literally won't see it. And that's where it gets scary.
There's so many overlaps and parallels here that I'm going to try not to hit too many of them and stay focused on this point of what you're describing. We see it in relationships with people too. But I'm just going to, like I said, there's plenty of parallels. But I'm going to try to keep it with people and dogs and acknowledge that there's a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
But with the scenario that you provided, like, hey, maybe leave the dog home this time. Oh, what you're describing is these scenarios where these people, they're doing, like you said, the only way for my dog to understand that I love him is for me to bring him everywhere all the time. It's like, and that's the way that you understand how you can express it.
Yes.
This is about you, not the dog.
Yes.
If it was about the dog, you would question first, will the dog be better here or with me? Where in this other scenario, you go, oh, well, the dog's always better with me because then it knows I love him. Like,
well, there's almost some sort of self-affirmation in those thought processes too,
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if you're really, the parallels, right? Like it's the same thing in any relationship with someone else. Can I put them first? Because sometimes putting them first means sacrificing a piece of what I want or what I'm desiring in that moment.
And that I'd actually like to ask you, because you get a better scope and exposure to these types of people and dynamics and things. I have my assessment and personal perspective on it, but not from the professional side like you, of how often do you see people in relationships with pets, I'll say, having a pet, but they're disconnected from the pet's needs. The pet is their thing. That's my dog instead of me and this dog live together.
It's sad because where we're at right now, from a regulatory and legislative perspective, pets are property. We own them. They are ours, right? So it's like we're almost saying, so yeah, I guess it's kind of difficult to say whether or not that's right or wrong. Because to some degree, it's like
it's how you go about it.
Yeah, because it's like if you own that pet and you understand that that is solely your property, there's an elevated sense of responsibility too, right?
Hopefully.
Like, okay, yeah, hopefully, yeah. Well, if you're an empathetic person,
right? And that's the thing of let's view it as children.
Yeah, and that's why you have to. I mean, we're going to go way back, and I don't even know if I want to go this far back, but I'm just going to say that, again, when I was talking about the parents I had and the upbringing I had, really what you're learning is empathy, right? Whether you're exposed to nature, you're exposed to pets, you're exposed to having siblings, you're exposed to, a loving family relationship. Learning that empathy drives everything else, right? So it's like, yeah, you can understand, okay, I'm going to go to the pet store and I'm going to buy this little dog for my kids because that'll make them happy, but you're not thinking of it as that life form.
Right.
You're just thinking of it as this commodity. I'm going to trade money. I'm going to get this thing. It's going to make my kids happy. And then I'm going to, a year from now when it gets really difficult, the dog is misbehaving and this and that. I haven't had that emotional or empathetic connection, which then leads me down the path of making bad decisions for that pet.
Yeah.
I'm going to abandon them. I'm going to abuse them. I'm going to neglect them and lock them away, whatever it is. And again, I think a lot of that is driven by what we learn as we grow up. Are we going to be caring people? Are we going to, and that goes way beyond pets. And that's, I'm obviously an animal lover, right? That's why I do what I do, but I'm also a people lover. I love people. I love to connect with people. I love to help people. And that really just is if, we see it in the animal industry all the time where people want to hate people. People don't want to care about people. They want to see the bad in people. I see the horrible things people do to pets, and at the end of the day, if you're a true animal person, that means you're an empath. That means that you care about everything that's living around you and beyond. Right. So I guess I kind of went off on a tangent because I went way down to, how we're raised. But to your perspective, well, let me ask you that. Do you think, would you agree that it really just comes down to whether or not someone is raised in a format that allows them to learn to be empathetic, that drives how they're going to care for pets and their children or whatever going forward?
I'm going to say, I think you touched on it before, it's that combo of nature and nurture. That would say we're all born with a different level of we'll call it empathy. Some of us are more sensitive. And when you were going through that dog sense thing, I was thinking in my mind, the way that I described with some other people I talked to about, not even just with pets, but with the interactions with people and things, call it like some people have the big S and some people don't, where big S for sensitivity. They've got a capital S for sensitivity. Like they're really sensitive people. And to your, I'll call it normal fluctuations in sensitivity people, they're always looking at these people like they're overreacting. It's like, no, they're having a big reaction because they had bigger feelings than you.
Yeah.
So that's actually an appropriate reaction for how intense their feelings were. You're just not that sensitive to what's going on. But then it's also back to environment, development, upbringing, exposure of how much you're exercising that empathy or having to shut it down. Because in some environments that are really harsh and traumatic, and this is where, again, my schooling and expertise, again, working with children and the emphasis on early childhood development in psychology is what I spent a lot of my time studying. And if you're in a really harsh environment and you're someone with that big S, you're really sensitive, 1, you're going to get damaged. 2, you're going to think it's your fault. And 3, you start to numb yourself. You start to turn down your sensitivity to things. You start to dissociate, close off to the world a little. But you take that same child, raise them in an environment where their needs are being met, catered to, their big sensitivity is acknowledged and then addressed appropriately. They're going to be the people who, they could tell you if the neighbor's dog is upset without even hearing it because they can just feel it, tune into this. Like these people are like hypersensitive and they're probably the ones coming and working at your shelters and things like that.
Yeah.
They're the ones calling like, hey, we got another one that we're going to bring in because we have these people who they're just already empathetic and sensitive. And then their environment encourages them to develop those skills, fine tune those skills, really calibrate that system. So now your empathy, your compassion, and your behavior patterns can be set.
Right.
You've got that. Let's hear it.
Yeah, because imagine this. And it's interesting that that's your background and what you're saying, because so just internally in our shelter, we have analyzed the data over a number of years to look at determining factors that lead to a dog being rehomed multiple times. And what we have found is prior to a year of age, that early development period, like you're talking about, they've had trauma, or they've been rehomed multiple times. So it is interesting, the parallels, and that, so dogs go through their critical period in 16 weeks. We have years. I think it's up to 7 years for a child or something, right?
Yeah.
You got 16 weeks,
right,
to really shape what the next 16 years
you just said
are going to look like.
Template and foundation for what everything is going to get built on.
Yes.
Once that foundation is set, locked in, that cement dries, this is your platform to build everything else on from here. If it's not solid, if there's a bunch of gaps in it, or you got some bumpy, rough spots or some big pits in it, you're not going to build the greatest thing after that.
Yeah.
Early development is so critical in humans, in animals, in plants. The early stages of development are essential.
Yeah, and we see it in our industry that it's such a short amount of time, depending on where that puppy is being born or going through. I mean, it can go by in the blink of an eye, and next thing you know, by the time a loving family is working with this dog, it's, hey, we're trying to rebuild on a foundation with all of these gaps. And that's where you look for qualities like patience, persistence, people that can look at that situation through an empathetic lens and say, okay, my dog is scared every time somebody comes over, every time a car door closes, and understand exactly what you just said. Well, hey, look at what they were dealt in those early days, and we're trying to build a pyramid on top of something that's structurally unsound.
Right.
And sometimes you plateau, and that's okay. It's like, hey, one of my dogs that had a huge impact on me, my dog Doug, who was my first adoptive dog as my own person, and became one of my favorite companions. We plateaued. Actually, Brian, if that's cool.
Yeah.
His story will highlight what we're talking about. So, and kind of bring up some broader questions of animal welfare as a whole and the systems that we have in place. But so I'm working at an animal shelter in Maine, and we were doing a lot of transports from other states, right? Maine has kind of...
Meaning getting transports from other states or sending to other states?
Bringing in. So Maine has kind of set the stage for dealing with a homeless pet problem, like, to the T. There is not a lot of stray animals running loose, your street dogs and street cats, so to speak. They just don't have it there. So you have this vacuum effect where it becomes an area of high demand. You have a lot of people who want to adopt, right? We're the type of people who understand the importance of adopting, understand that there is a homeless pet problem, and we want to help, and we want to do the right thing, and we want to go to the shelter and adopt. So you have this high demand with a low supply of homeless pets in the general area.
Right.
And so what's happened in our country is we transport these animals from high supply, low demand areas. Typically, most people think of the Southeast, as a high supply, low demand area of dogs. And we transport them up north to where we are now. Father John's transports dogs in typically from Virginia and North Carolina partners. This place transported, because of where I was in Maine, we were doing so many adoptions that we were transporting from all over. We were getting transports from Georgia and Alabama, and just depended on what was happening and where the need was. Mm-hmm. This particular transport came from Indiana, and came over, and I walk in my boss's office, the manager at the time, and she's got this. At the time, it was just me and one roommate living in a house, and he was still in school, and he became very accustomed to me bringing pets home periodically and fostering. So I walk in her office, and sitting on the ground is this puppy. Looks really sick. He's got this upper respiratory infection. He's all gunked up. And I said, "Who's this?" And she said, "Oh, he came off this transport. He was supposed to go into our Paws and Stripes program where puppies went and lived with prisoners for 8 to 16 weeks, depending on their age and their ability to go through the full program. They would go and live with prisoners, get socialization, go through training classes on a weekly basis. But this particular dog couldn't go because of this illness." She said, "We actually need somebody to take him. Why don't you take him?" And so, of course, I'm going to take him. So I take this old dog, and when I got him, he was about 14 weeks old at this point. And he was like some sort of bully breed mix, chocolate brown. I fell in love with this dog. It's me and him, going through everything, the potty training, the whole shebang. And it actually turned out that he had some sort of birth defect on his nose, where his nasal cavities were not completely open. So when he got neutered, they had to actually reconstruct his nasal cavities, kind of increase the oxygen flow, which is probably why this upper respiratory infection was such a negative thing for him.
Oh, this was after that surgery happened.
Yeah, no. So he was sick at first, on antibiotics, all that sort of stuff. Once the congestion cleared up, they recognized, hey, listen, this dog's also not able to breathe normally. We gotta open his nose up. So then they neutered him, opened his nose up, and at this point, I decide I'm going to adopt him. Right. So now he had 2 sisters that went into that Paws and Stripes program, and when they came out of that Paws and Stripes program, we decided we were going to have this reunion. And at this point, I have already recognized that Doug has certain quirks about him. I named him Doug, by the way. Doug the dog. So he had severe noise phobia. Any loud noise would send him into like a quivering, anxious state where he would cower in the corner and like physically be shaking. And he was socially inept with other dogs. When he would see other dogs, he would skyrocket in excitement and just want to lick their face and mount them. That was it. And I'm working, because of where I am, I'm exposed to trainers, I'm exposed to people that have been in the industry and I'm asking them, what am I going to do to work with this? And at the end of the day, I got the best advice from the boss whose office he was in, which was, accept that this is your dog. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. Then we have this reunion, and I meet his sisters that are nothing like him. They're super social with other dogs in a way that's respectful and other dogs like. Like, most dogs hated my dog because he was so in their face. Yeah. So, and they would correct him, and sometimes he would try to hold it in, but he just couldn't, For his entire life, that noise phobia controlled my life. There were certain things I could never expose him to. I would have to know, okay, this is a place I'm gonna leave him at home because he's gonna be so anxious. But think about that, right? By the time he was 14 weeks, he was with me.
Right.
So I went down this wormhole, and he taught me so much about myself and everything. And God rest his soul, he was my favorite companion I've ever had. He's the only dog whose picture I have hanging everywhere in my office because he was just so important to me as a person, But it also sent me down this wormhole of thinking about, well, what was his traumatic experience that led to this level of noise phobia? And I've always thought it's this system of transport. You think about, you're this tiny puppy. You're stripped from your mom. As much as there's a necessity for us to rescue these dogs and save them and find them homes where they can grow up and be loved and live long, happy lives, there's still some element of trauma. There has to be. You're being stripped from your mom, your siblings. You're being put in a crate, and you're traveling for hours on highways, in box trucks, rattling around. You could imagine when you're a baby,
other dogs barking,
smelling. And I think, I'm just going to speak open and candidly while we're doing this. Yeah. A lot of times we try to convince ourselves when we're here in the Northeast and we adopt these dogs from down south, oh, he must have been abused. And I've never been convinced that animal abuse is as widespread as we've convinced ourselves that these hundreds of thousands of dogs that are being adopted every year, they must have been abused. People aren't that bad. There are bad.
Sure.
There really is bad. I've seen the bad.
And then there's the days where they do the thing that was bad, and it was that one isolated incident, and they're like, I can never forgive myself for kicking my dog or whatever. It's not like they were an abuser. But they had a bad day and a bad behavior.
But what if we change our mindset where the abuse is the systemic pet homelessness situation that's led us to have to put these dogs through trauma to get them to sanctuary? That's the abuse. And he really taught me that. He was such a great dog, man. Great dog. There's always one that stands out.
Yeah, that's They are such amazing teachers.
Yeah,
They
if you
really
listen,
are.
it's like
Yeah.
everything, right? If you're willing to listen
That's
to
every
them,
teacher, though. Every good
for
teacher,
sure, for sure, every good
they
student.
could say all the great stuff out in the world, and if you don't listen, what are you going to get from it?
Yep.
If you take the time to listen, same with children. This is what I've said for years, working with parents and kids in the mental health industry and field. And it's your children are your greatest teachers. They will teach you all of your shortcomings, all of your areas of weakness, of struggle, and they'll also highlight some areas of strength and things that you don't see in yourself and stuff like that as well. But like you know, if you listen, if you pay attention, and this goes right back into that dog sense thing. Are you empathetic? Is this about you, or is this about what's outside of you?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, if you spend that time with nature as a child, you realize it's the stuff outside of me that I can connect to, play my role in this. But the stuff outside of me is where life is happening. I can create a life in here. That's all about me. And that's what most all of us are doing. And eventually you're going to be like, how come everyone else feels good, but I don't? And you're going to end up in my therapy office and like dealing with stuff. And I'm like, look, you're faking it just like everyone else is faking it. You just don't realize because everyone's doing a pretty good job of faking it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if you
for
take
sure.
that time to connect, you realize everyone struggles. But also everyone's got strengths. And everyone has good things to offer. And we can connect and be empathetic. And if you approach that where you see that person or that animal in their truth, they're much more likely to be receptive, to let you in, let you get close, and now form that bond and share those things. But when we go looking at kind of what you're talking about, the trauma involved in just the systemic structure of how we're helping these animals, we have that same stuff happening with humans, with different things of like the different well-intentioned, but maybe not the best approach to these different things, especially in early development. Especially when it's like, oh, well, they'll get over, they just need to learn to self-soothe. It's like your child's crying because the need's not being met, not because they didn't learn self-soothing yet. They're probably scared. Where is my caregiver? Why am I in this dark room by myself? Just like that puppy in that crate getting shipped across the... Oh, well, he'll learn how to self-soothe. Or he'll learn to be terrified his whole life. When that crashing sound of when we went over one of those bumps and all the crates and I was alone in the dark imprinted this fear of insecurity. I don't have trust of my environment for my whole life. And am I talking about dogs or people now? Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. And then it's like, oh, well, they're fine. It's like, no, that's internalized. They're just not expressing it. They don't trust this environment around them. They don't trust to connect with other people. They don't trust that the world is going to come to their need. So they just walk around with that insecurity inside. And now they don't ask anyone for help because it's wired in early development. They don't even notice. That's why they don't ask for help and support. It's because you learned during these pivotal, critical developmental periods, no one's coming.
The question then becomes, is it hopeless to change later on?
Hopeless? No. But it requires more energy than if you did it earlier. It's going to take more resources, and like you said, you will also reach a plateau.
Yeah.
Some of them, this is as good as it's going to get. One of the adopted dogs I had, he forever, his whole life, he is a trash dog. He ate trash out of a trash can. Anything in a bag, he's going to rip up the bag to see what's in it.
Yeah.
Because his first 7 or 8 months were on the streets. It was after Katrina, all the houses went up, pets, and those pets started breeding. He was one of those litters from whatever different dogs that got out and were having months, and then they shipped him up to Montana, so he was down from the south too. He was rehomed 4 times in 2 months.
Whoa.
Before we got him.
Whoa.
And we actually got him from, funny enough, someone who was bringing him back to the shelter. Not from the shelter, I just heard through the grapevine someone was like all upset that their boyfriend was bringing a dog to the shelter, and they just like hate seeing him go back.
And you stepped in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we ended up through all of it, like still signing off at the shelter about all of it, just so everything was all like kosher and paperworks and whatnot. But our comment was, we don't care if he's going to chew our stuff up. We'll teach him we'll separate him from the cats for now until we figure out that, because that was one of the homes is like, we have cats and he's trying to kill them. And we're like, yeah, he's a dog. He doesn't know them and they're running. So we'll figure that out. We have systems to keep our cats safe. We know them well enough. They'll be upset about it at first, but they'll be all right. And material things, I don't care. I'm not that attached to him. If he chews up some of my stuff, I'll get new stuff. Whatever. He chewed up a lot of stuff. He destroyed his beds, his leashes, my hats, his shoes, anything when you left him alone, because he had separation anxiety. He was alone his whole thing, and he had to figure out how to fend for himself. So he's going to go. Garbage was where he found food. That's where he found his security, his comfort, his needs being met. So he sees a garbage can, he's going to knock it over and eat it.
But see, you're coming at it from that place of understanding.
Yeah.
Trying to put the pieces together. Hey, he's behaving this way.
I didn't want a dog for me. I saw an animal with a need, and I was in a position to help.
To meet those needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more that we, as individuals, take that standpoint in every interaction we have, whether it's with pets or it's with people, which is, why are they coming at this situation the way they are? Oh, it's because of this, 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 and this. You know, you gain that understanding. It then helps garner patience. And then when you develop that patience, now you know, okay, let me take a step back and let me think, how can I work on these things? Whether it's, I'm going to use avoidance, I'm going to use training, I'm going to set up baby gates, I'm going to get a industrial garbage can with a locking lid, whatever it is. It all starts, how effective your training is, all starts with whether or not you can gain that understanding. This is why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah. And those 4 other homes couldn't get to that point, you know? And I don't often blame those folks either.
Like you said, you also have to accept this is your dog.
Yes.
And
I signed
his whole
up
life,
for this.
we ended up with a locking lid garbage can that, okay, he's home for enough hours. He figured out how to knock it over and move the latch and unlock a locking garbage can. The solution we developed
didn't work.
We kept the garbage can in a closet that had a door that could close. Inconvenient for us to have to open the closet door every time we wanted to use the garbage and close the closet door, but it was the only way.
Works for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this way, he doesn't feel bad when we come home and he knows there's a mess on the floor we're going to be upset about because he tore the garbage up again. Because he felt bad each time because he knew we were upset and he cared so much about it. He was panicking because we had left. He was insecure. And he went to the thing he knew for comfort.
Yep.
We understood that. We worked with it. But he never got over it. It diminished a little, but it never went away. Because the critical periods went the way they went.
You know, it's interesting. I'm just thinking, and this is off on a tangent, but like,
I love it.
We're as a society now, we're so vocal about, loving yourself. And it's interesting because it's like the same thing here, but it's not about yourself. It's about, this is who they are and what they've been through and that level of acceptance, and you kind of wish that maybe all that push for, this is who you are and own it and love it. If we could put a little bit of that into these dogs that have gone through as much as they've gone through, which is quite often way more than we have. They've gone through some serious discomfort and fortitude and resilience, like think about that. This dog is out there surviving, eating garbage on the flooded streets, and here we are like, man, I stubbed my toe this morning.
Or like the one person sent him back because he chewed up his special cowboy hat. That was real expensive.
Yeah.
You had your value you put on that hat. To the dog, it was a comfort to chew on.
Yep.
Because you left him home again for a full work day.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at him for chewing the thing you left there for him to chew on. because he was anxious. Give him chew things to chew on. Or don't leave him so, like, understand. But it's, but he damaged my thing. Who's this about?
Almost like it's intentional, you know?
Yeah. Or he should have known better. What?
Yeah.
Because you think that, they should think. And so again, is this about you or is this about them?
Yeah.
It's that empathy thing.
Yeah. You know, it all goes back to what we were talking about too before, which is there's a huge educational component to this, right? Because if we're identifying that mainly what's leading to these troubled or traumatized pasts that lead to less than desirable behavioral patterns that thereby lead to frequent pet homelessness or rehoming. You know, we have to get back to educating folks how to read and understand these dogs and be sympathetic to what they're going through. We have to really think through the system that we have in place of how we're addressing this, because the reality is in some cases to ask somebody to deal with, you know, when you do hit that plateau, sometimes that plateau is in a place where it's unreasonable to expect somebody to deal with this every day.
Right.
You know, so we have to educate. We have to think about truly step back and look at this and say, is this system working? Because it's still relatively new. You know, us transporting dogs to rehome them maybe the last 20, 30 years where it's gotten to the extent that it is, where in some cases we're even flying them from areas of catastrophe or areas of high volume. We're flying them, literally just shipping them. It's remarketing them, right? It's the way I look at it. We're shipping them, we're remarketing them, we're selling them again. Mm-hmm. And then in some cases, what they've been through to get to that point is now creating a pattern of behaviors that's driving them to have to be restocked again. It's like, just think about it in terms of like a Marshalls or a TJ Maxx, right? They resell products that came from wholesales that might be damaged, right? So the breeders are your Macy's, your JCPenney. You're going to come in, you're going to look at it. Wow, it smells good. It's merchandise. They got the exact style I want or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're going to pay top dollar for that commodity. And then you got the other, you know, where it's the wholesalers. It's the you see a lot of them now, the liquidation spots, right? Where it's like, this was damaged product that fell off the truck or whatever. And you got the people that are going to go there and but how we're making that product feel like it belongs here is you can feel really good about buying it though, because it's been through a lot. It's got trauma. You're going to save it, you know, and that's how we're driving the demand from here to here. But the problem is the system of actually getting those materials and those goods onto those shelves is making them so damaged to the point that you're getting them home and they're not working the way you want them to, and you're having to return them. And now they got to sell it again. And then they got to sell it again. And every time they sell it, it's becoming more and more damaged.
Well, and also now you think about the association that one time you have to rehome that pet. What it learned was don't attach.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because eventually they're going to send me.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. It's going to be terrible.
And now, you know, that makes it even more difficult to adopt in those moments because everybody wants that fireworks moment.
Yeah.
Right? The dog runs up to you, jumps in your lap. Save me.
No, it's
I'm
like
your
now
dog.
Every time you leave, you get a noise complaint from your neighbor that your dog is barking. And it's like, because he was rehomed, he thinks you left him forever.
You may never come back.
He doesn't understand. And maybe this person doesn't also understand. It's like, did you tell him you were going to the grocery store? Did you tell your dog? Why would I tell my dog that? They don't understand. Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. They can feel it from you, right? The sense
100%.
Of comfort.
This is one of the things that I nerd out a bit and read into research and scholarly articles and all different things in the fields of research. But with plants and animals alike, I don't remember the distance right now on dogs. I don't remember that. I know that they've done studies where they saw weird spikes in the data of their reading the electrical activity in plants. And they were trying to understand why they saw these weird increases in what was positive growth activity at the same times of day, regardless of all the other factors that were going on. But then some days it didn't. It was mostly on the weekend when they're like, what's going on? Is it the temperature in the building? Is it the heating? Is it this? then they were able to find out it was directly correlated with when the caretaker of these plants
Was there or not?
got within 2 kilometers. It wasn't even in the building. It was when they were on their way, the plant could sense somehow. And again, like this, we haven't figured out all the nuance of this. Just like, what's the dog thinking? What's the plant thinking? We're not there yet. But to see changes in activity measured in real time based just on locality of the caretaker. The caretaker's getting closer, I feel more safe, secure, and the plants would grow better. Just because the person that took care of that, and it's like, then they found out, I was like, wow, so much of our data we need to recalibrate, because when we're trying to show these differences in like caretaking of these plants, we didn't realize that the plants are responding to the caretaker as well. That's like their data was skewed from it.
Yeah.
The same thing with pets is, this is one of the things I forget, again, how far away distance that they were able to measure this. But the moment the person gets in their car to drive home, it's not when they pull in the driveway, it's when they leave wherever to drive home, the animal at home responds. And with all these different home cameras and things they have now, the evidence is just growing dramatically of animals now.
Yep.
Tell them you're leaving. Tell them when you're going to come home. Send that stuff out through your heart or to God or whatever your belief system is. These connections are real.
Yes.
If you feel
And
that
valuable.
with your pet at times, understand it feels it too. And maybe I'll even argue more than you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're in tune with things that we aren't, you know? And we've, you know, in certain circumstances, we've used that to our advantage, right? To sniff for drugs or bombs or whatever, you know? Yeah. So we know they're, even just on the surface, we've identified they can sense things we can't, you know? And you know it goes so much deeper than just how far they can smell.
Yeah, even if we take just using eyesight, they've done studies. This is old evidence, too, of they've been able to show pictures to dogs of any random person, and the dog will respond according to the emotion that person was experiencing when the picture was taken.
Yeah.
That is, they visually can read,
and that's through thousands
micro
of
expressions in your face. Yeah, and we could say thousands of years of evolution, but also we could just say is like any biological functioning has evolved over these times, but their sensitivity and attunement to it.
Yeah. Well, it definitely, you know, helped them, because humans have helped them survive to the extent that they have.
Most all dog breeds only exist because of human intervention.
And so you would think that, I mean, what an advantage for you to be able to sense what that, just from a survival standpoint. If I can sense that this person is angry or aggressive and I avoid them, I'm more likely to survive, reproduce, and have. So, you know, it is something that nobody should take for granted, how intertwined our species have become. And so much of what we focus on, even just today, but in general in society, is where we're at in this contemporary moment with the dog. And we lose sight of the fact that we've been on a journey for thousands of years together. It just so happens right now, we're really, really appreciating them. I think that's where we're getting now is we're truly appreciating what they can bring to us and add to our lives, besides just helping us get food, feel safe.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because a lot of breeds, you look at them, they were hunting breeds for food or furs.
Or protection.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, I want to steer a little, there's a question I don't want to lose that I wanted to ask earlier of how much of the different breeds and their accompanying temperaments or personalities do you see as kind of people picking dogs because they like them versus being aware of what the needs of different breeds really are?
You used to see a little bit more of it than you are now. We are seeing a trend in a positive direction where people are, because there's so much information out there now. It isn't like, oh, my grandma had this breed book that I read one time. And then what they were doing is they were walking down the street and seeing, you know, your Australian Shepherd and going, that's a dog I want because of how it looks.
Right.
But their only available knowledge was from this one book that somebody else had. Now it's everywhere, right? What these breeds
pull out your phone, you look it up.
Exactly. So we are seeing less of it. It is a little easier to
Thank you for that.
Educate. Yeah, no, for sure. That's one huge advantage with how much knowledge is out there now. We still see it sometimes,
Sure.
but most often what we see is someone wants a dog that is directly similar to the dog they just had, or the best dog they ever had, which is, you know what? You can never have two that are the same, but I totally understand that, hey, I found what worked for me and what I liked, and I'd like to do it again. Mm-hmm. And if I always say, if they've chosen to come to a place like Father John's Animal House, they've already made the right choice, right? They're coming to try to find a homeless pet to bring home and love forever. So we see a lot with the cats. I really want an orange cat because people assume the cats are all the same, you know? So that's really where we see it the most. And it's usually color, and coat color is what's driving their decision. Oh, I can't get a black cat. Black cats are bad luck or whatever. And so there it's a little harder to educate folks on, hey, listen, cats, just like dogs, all have different personalities. They have different social needs. And they're going to fit into your lifestyle different. So why don't you come with us? You meet with one of our counselors. We bring you in, and we have like free roam style catteries. So you can really get a sense for how these cats are going to behave at home because they've settled in these areas. It's totally different than where the dogs in shelters are typically living in isolated enclosures. These cats have freedom of choice. They can choose to be up high. They can choose to hide. They can choose to go and eat. They can choose to stretch, whatever it is. They can choose to approach that person. Mm-hmm. And that's really where it's like, hey, I know you've been thinking you really want an orange cat. The only orange cat we have right now is not going to vibe with your 3 kids. He's really shy. So why don't you come in and meet Luna, and she's way more gregarious. She's going to come right to you. She's going to rub on you. So we see that more with the cats than dogs nowadays.
All right. Hey, we'll cross that bridge when people are ready for that one. Right? We'll take it as it comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Count the blessings. If we're moving in the right direction, that's what we can hope for and continue to encourage.
And it's something, too, like not to, take lightly, because we have to acknowledge the wins, especially in our industry. We're always talking with our team. It's a very emotional work environment. You get very attached to these animals. You see animals having the worst possible situations, and it can become emotionally draining. So we're always educating our team on, take the small wins. Take the small wins. Don't let anybody take the small wins away from you. And when we talk about trends, those are big wins. Hey, if we're moving in this direction, we're euthanizing less pets in shelters. Let's own that big win. And don't let people try to take it from you, because there's so much out there. A lot of people that aren't in shelters every day. I've been in shelters every day for 15 years now. There's a lot of people out there that want to tell you you're doing it wrong. There's a better way to be doing it, and so much negativity or so much fixation on this one bad outcome. Meanwhile, we've had 100 good outcomes. So we're always telling our team, focus on the big wins. Hey, we're going to learn from those losses. We're going to learn from the failures, of course, and we're going to make our wins even bigger. But every time there's a small win, we're going to take it. We're going to own it. We're going to celebrate it.
Awesome. And I want to say this just in case anyone ever listens who's that person who says like, oh, well, you're doing it wrong or you could be doing it better. Awesome. Come help.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah. Exactly.
If you're just offering criticism, you can take that with you and leave. But if you have suggestions or you have some hands that you're willing to put to work, let's do it.
Yeah. And I think, too, a message we always send, because we hear a lot of things about other places that, people might define as a pound or one of these high volume shelters in the South that are, dealing with way more stuff than we are. Understand, it kind of come from that place of understanding what those folks are going through and appreciate the fact that nobody is putting themselves in that position to do that job that doesn't want to do good.
Right.
Right? Like we all assume, an animal control officer, they're out to just catch the dogs and put them down. I can assure you, nobody is accepting that job offer because their heart's in the wrong place. It's not happening anymore.
Even if they did, they're not in that job for very long.
Exactly.
They're not making it through the week.
30 years ago, it's a different story. But where we are today, and again, this is one of those big wins as an industry. as the statistics are out there, as the connectivity of shelters, and you have these big, huge national, international organizations helping drive decisions at local shelters and things like that, we're moving in the right direction. And you can't say we're not, and we got to own that win. And then, so that then needs to translate to the public to understand that everybody that's doing this job wants to do it really good, and they wouldn't be in that position if they didn't want to do good that day,
Awesome. And I think that's an awesome shout out to all of society and humanity at this point of most everyone wants it to be better. We know that.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And if there's trends, those are big wins.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that. Even if it's like, oh, but we're here and we're trying to get here. But if you're trending,
we're moving.
Cool.
Yes.
It might take us
There's
a while,
energy.
but we're going. So let's keep feeding it in the right direction. And if it's not going, let's figure out what we need to do to get it going. But this acknowledgement of things could be better, but we're working on it.
Yes. And
people are showing up.
You want people in positions like mine, right? Like that I'm super proud to be in the position that I'm in right now. And I know my team is of the mentality that I'm about to describe. And these are the types of people you want here, where every day we come to work, we want to do better. There is, my quote at work is always, complacency is death. As soon as we become complacent with how we're doing what we're doing, we will die as an organization, as a mission. We have to keep wanting to push. You have to keep wanting to do better and have a greater and greater impact. That's what it comes down to. When you're, working for a mission first organization like Father John's is, that's what a nonprofit is, right? It's not that, we can't eat and we're never going to survive or anything like that. It's about that. The first thing we think about isn't our profits. It's the mission. We are a mission-first organization. We are going to save homeless dogs and cats and create access to low-cost medical care, all those sorts of things. But the only way it happens is if me and my team show up every day, looking at those trends, accepting them, but not just being along for the ride, pushing that arrow further and further. You have to be active. None of this stuff happens because you're stagnant. And so again, like, you hope that the people that are taking on these positions are those type of people that understand, like, hey, I don't know everything. Nobody's going to know everything. Of course we can do better. But the most important thing is that we want to do better, because the better we do is more lives saved. We're not selling light bulbs here. I mean, that's just what, at the end of the day, how hard we work is going to impact that dog or that cat that's coming from this troubled past or coming out as a victim of this system that we currently have in place.
Mm-hmm. You're taking an area where there's a need. Actually, if it's done right, this is one of the things that I think is beautiful about the way Father John's or these shelters are set up. And this is one of the things that me personally, I try to find anywhere I can in life. And a lot of these interviews are going to be with people who are finding this part of this equation. There's two needs that simultaneously get met, and you have a greater outcome than before. Of you have a pet that needs a home, and ideally you have a home that has room that needs to be filled with something to be taken care of.
Yeah,
it's like we have this love and resources to give somewhere, and this animal needs that space to be loved and have those resources given. Now I feel better because I can give in a way that's fulfilling to me, and now that animal feels better because it's receiving in a way that it needs. My needs were met, its needs were met, and it cost us nothing. We both just gained.
Yeah.
The whole system lifted up at essentially a zero cost. It's a net win.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that the people that we're working with White Deer and the people we're interviewing, that's going on some level. Where it's when people or animals or whatever coming together with that mission, with that intention. It's not about what I'm going to get. It's about how can I give in here? And then you realize that it's like, oh, and then it funnels into me too. My needs get met. I get lifted up and supported just by finally having my outlet to give. Where can I, my passion, I want this. I need to put myself and my energy into this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but now I just became a siphon?
Yes.
I have stuff flowing into me now because I'm giving it out, and now everything is getting better.
And you're just uplifted.
Yeah.
You know?
The whole system is.
Yeah. And we're obviously matchmakers at Father John's, right? Because we're always trying to find that point, right? Like which pet is going to fit into the trajectory you're on so that as soon as you guys connect, I like the visual you did there with the hands, Brian. You know, we got to find them at that intersection so that they can take off and skyrocket. And, you know, what we've found sometimes is you're going to hit, you know, maybe in a different point than you expected when you take that pet home, right? Because we all go into it like, I have this void in my house that I can fill with a pet. I want to give a homeless pet a home. And we go into it with expectations that sometimes aren't met in reality when we take that pet home. And that's what we've done and shifted into at Father John's, is being a massive support network for those people. So, you know, you thought you were going to hit here. Pet's already potty trained, you know, knows how to use the litter box, is never going to scratch my couch or chew my door, and we're going to take off. But the reality is you hit here where, oh my God, I don't know if they're going to use the litter box as consistently as I need. They're chewing my molding. You know, where are we going with this? And that's where, you know, our other services, besides just bringing in homeless pets and rehoming them, but providing free counseling for life, a support system of, you can connect with other alumni adopters, you know, people that have adopted from us in our Facebook group. You can call us any day of the week, 7 days a week. We're there. We're going to answer the phone, and we're going to catch you there, and we're going to make sure you keep going up and up, because we understand that every journey is going to be different. Everybody's going to have different challenges. And so an important service that we can provide is how we support those people and those adoption experiences that are less than desirable to make sure that they keep going on the up and up. And that's been a really fun adventure, finding the right people to have those conversations on the phone, give the right advice. And, you know, we've had to build a team kind of around that just because of, you know, we've really become a community resource, which is really exciting. People having any sort of issue with their pet, they call us, right? Like right before I came here, I answered the phone because I saw my team was busy. You know, I pick up the phone, and it was a gentleman who just had his cat at the emergency hospital yesterday. Not a cat adopted from us, it's a cat in general. Was experiencing urinary blockage, which is a serious situation. And now he's having these symptoms. I said, hang on. Let me get you on the phone with the right person. Which is so cool that at Father John's, we're thinking about it isn't all going through one person. We have different people with different experiences and different expertise. And I got him on the phone with our animal care manager that has years and years of experience as a vet tech, knows about this situation. And next thing you know, this guy is about to get, really what he's thinking is, can I afford to keep this pet? Am I in the right point? We're going to get you on the phone with somebody that can give you free advice, that is an expert in the field, that has gone through similar situations like this, helped dozens, if not hundreds of people going through something like this. So I think in that regard, we're becoming a part of affecting, we've identified that this system might not be working completely the way we thought it was. It's filling those needs. It's filling those voids. We're getting pets to people that need pets. But at the same time, we're keeping pets where they belong, which is with people. You know, hey, you don't have to bring your pet to us. Let's talk to you about this. You know, whether it's a behavior concern, it's a medical concern. It's just you're grieving right now. You know, you just lost your wife. We deal with grief a lot at Father John's. A lot of it is pet grief. You know, going through pet loss is something that it's the same as going through human loss, and everybody goes through grief differently. And all of a sudden our team, you know, you're going out to accept donations, and next thing you know, you're a grief counselor, right? This person is, hey, I'm donating because I lost my cat or I lost my dog that was with me for 18 years, and they want to share their story. And that's where you get that person-to-person connection, which is one of my favorite parts of my job. But at the same time, we're wearing so many different hats in an attempt to keep pets at home. Like you're calling us, oh my God, I just lost my wife. I don't know how I can do this. I can't keep my 2 dogs. It's just too much. I'm dealing with so much, and blah, blah. And next thing you know, all we need to do in that moment is take 20 minutes to connect with this person and say, hey, think about this. You're going to lose 2 more loved ones if you surrender your pets, you know? And you have those difficult conversations. And then at the end of the day, you go home feeling like, man, I actually probably kept those 2 pets from coming to the shelter today because I took that time to talk to that person. And that's what makes Father John's unique, is we've always thought we can't just be a shelter for homeless pets, or we're just reacting to the problem. We have to be that resource to be a part of preventing this from spreading and becoming more of a systemic problem.
Yeah. That's awesome. What a great way to look at it is like, we're not a place for you. Like, we're not the dump.
Yes.
This isn't where you go dump the trash. We're essentially, I'll call it, I was going to say recycling center, but an upcycling center.
Yes. 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 It's actually,
community
I never used that
resources.
analogy, but yes, exactly.
Where it's like, no, we're getting some of the stuff. We get some damage, but we're fixing it up, cleaning it up here. And then we also have good stuff coming in that's already good, and we'll even clean it up more too. And if you have some of your stuff that needs fixed up, we'll tell you how to fix it so you don't need to bring it to a dump either.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a great analogy. I'll probably steal that.
Please. One of the things that I was smiling about as you were talking, you did end up saying the words even through you sharing, but you say like, and we have a team here, but you were sharing all of this stuff that you enjoy about like, and then we're doing this, or I was picking up the phone, and we've got all these. You're a team. You have that thing. And then you're a member of team, which you acknowledge with the sports. That's just something that's been like true to you, of like, you feel that involvement, that community, that sense of purpose for something bigger than yourself. But also as a team, take any sports that uses teams, and you could even take the best player in that sport, name the sport, take the best player and have them play against a full team.
Yeah. You get nowhere.
They're not going to win.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the type of thing where you need to just look at what is not just what can I do? What is the team unit?
We did an exercise in one of our staff meetings too, where we looked at the total number of pets adopted across a certain number of years. And then we said, if each of us was to do this individually, we each would have had to solely bring in and rehome X number of pets. You can watch everybody. It's like, it would have been an impossibility. Right. Even if you broke out the number of pets that we brought in and rehomed by each number of staff member, it still would have been impossible.
Yeah.
But because we came together, we became this cohesive unit, we were able to accomplish something greater than any of us could ever accomplish alone. Everything in life is about teams, man. Whether it's your family, which is really your team, right? Your wife, like your spouse, right? Me and my wife always talk about how life is a game, and we're just fortunate enough to play it together. Because if you have to go through life alone, it is way harder than if you have that person to lean on in that deep partnership. And we try not to take it more seriously than that. That's all it is. We're playing the game of life, and we're going to win because we're playing together. That's how we look at it. And again, all sports, man. I'm a big advocate of getting kids into sports, and even if it isn't your traditional sport, it's just, I fenced, I played tennis, I played ping pong, I played everything. I played soccer, I played lacrosse.
I'll offer, there's even a point when I was coaching youth video games.
Yes.
And the company that I was working with came out because they're like, look, kids are playing games today. They're not playing team sports. Let's get some
camaraderie
coaches offering good education like you have with these kids, so they have that structure, and it's not just free-for-all middle schoolers bullying each other.
Yep.
But we have that team building with a mentorship coach style in there. But that helps keep it all in check, keeps it directed. But also, one of the things that I did through that, and the reason I'm bringing this up in the context of what we're saying, is I did a bunch of research. I did some different streams and educational things for them, and talked about, video games aren't traditional sports, but the research about competition has been around for long enough that they were able to, however, I don't remember at this point if it was 40, 60, however many years ago, correlate playing chess to almost all of the same benefits, barring some of the physiological benefits of the exercise. But the benefits in mental, emotional, and behavioral trajectories, if you played chess, were almost the same as if you played sports, compared to the groups who did not do either. That it's having that competition, having that part of intellectually problem solving and competing again. It doesn't mean that you're competing and I hate you because you're playing chess against. No, it could be your best friend you're playing with, but having that competition in a style of play is critical for human success and development.
So I talk a lot to my friends and my loved ones about this, that the lessons you learn through sports are not about how good you are at the sport. It's about sportsmanship. It's about not hating that person that you're competing against, right? It's about actually celebrating if they win. Learning that selflessness of, hey, I lost and I'm upset I lost, but you know what? I'm also happy they won.
Yeah.
But it's also about, like we talked earlier, about learning to be a good teammate. So, I had a really interesting, my favorite sport growing up was soccer because that was my dad's favorite sport. And I was fortunate enough where for many years my dad was my coach, which was awesome, and now I coach my son's lacrosse team. So it's just like it builds this, generational impact. But physiologically, my body, the way that it developed, I was a late bloomer. I became super awkward in like the middle of high school and the end of high school, where it actually affected my ability to play at the level that I needed to play. I was still on the team. And I went through my entire senior year with barely ever playing, like actually ever being in the game. But it never deterred me from wanting to be a part of the team and wanting to be a leader amongst the team. And, you learn so much about yourself and like little nuances and your conversations within yourself of, okay, I've recognized I'm nowhere near the best player on this team, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have an impact on this team. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to help this team win. And I got to be a motivator. And so I never sat on the bench. I'd stand on the sideline because I knew I'm helping my team. I want my team to see I'm as invested as they are, even though we're not on the field. And nowadays you see it where everybody wants to be that front runner. Everybody wants to be the best player on the team.
Yeah,
I think if I'm not the best,
I'll be the influencer. I'll have the followers.
And if I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
And for me, looking back, I didn't know it at the time. And there was times where you're beating yourself up. Man, you should have went to the gym more. Man, you should have practiced more. Man, you should have done this more. But now I look back and I wouldn't have done it any other way, because it gave me exactly what I needed to put those pieces together of who I was going to become. Because who we are at any individual moment is never who we are. It's only who we're going to become. And it put me on this trajectory to now be in the position that I'm in. With my family and with Father John's, and super, super grateful for all those games I never played and sat the bench. How many people you can hear that?
Would say I want to offer like a subtle adjustment in your vocabulary there of you didn't have time on the field. You didn't have play time, but you did play. You were a team member for the entire game.
Yeah.
And I bring it up of one of the sports teams I played on when we were in a tournament and it's getting the high level stuff. Our captain made such a great offering to the team of, hey, every one of these teams, when we're playing, we've got 7-on-7 out on the field, but we're going to have 18 people on the field every time. If you're not out there, you're on the sideline and you're with someone.
Yeah.
And you're talking to them. And if it's just cheering them, go ahead and cheer them. But everyone pick someone. And if you don't have someone, then you're going to be watching bigger picture. But you be in their ear. You be their eyes. We are all on the field. We are all playing every point that is going on. And it was a great offering to the team because it was true. It got all of us involved. If it's like, oh, I'm not in the top 7, so bench time for me today. It's like, no, I'm with him.
Yeah.
And he's my person that I can work on grinding with in practices to push them and they'll push me, but we're together in it. It's not either I'm the MVP or I'm not playing. I'm going to take my ball and go home like that.
It's the connective energy, the same energy probably that plant is sensing when the person's coming in.
Yeah.
It's when you build that kinetic energy and it becomes this real force.
And then go ahead and just look at the statistics on home court advantage.
Yes. Yeah, because now you have a whole stadium.
Yeah, you feel
energy.
supported.
Yeah.
You're still the same person out on the court or on the field or whatever, but you feel that support. and it's bigger than you. And now we're going to circle us back to, we were talking about the Father Johns. If you broke it down individually, there's no way, even if individually everyone had the same project, that you would ever have the success of the team, of the collective.
Yeah.
And now again, if anyone listens into this and is like, well, I want to be a part of that, do it. You can be. Whether it's calling up, whether it's contributing some of the donations to the eBay charity stuff, whether it's anything, even if it's just inquiring, call up and be like, hey, what could someone do to help?
Even if you're just curious about what goes on there, what happens there, come and feel it, come and be a part of the vibe. And, you guys, when you were telling me about coming in and doing this awesome project that you guys are working on, interviewing various people from businesses around our community, it was all, like you said in the beginning too, we're trying to interview people that have stayed true to their passions and found success in it. Mm-hmm. And, that success can only be found with energy. And, I tell my wife all the time, 'cause she's always, I can be annoying. I am a high energy person. I like to.
People can get annoyed by you.
Yes. Yeah. People can get annoyed by my energy, and I heard a great quote once, and honestly, I have no idea who said it, but it was, to be the most successful, you have to be the most energetic. Mm-hmm. And that is definitely what I try to bring to Father John's every day. There are days I don't feel good, like today, right? I have a cold or whatever has happened to me all of a sudden, where that energy might dwindle. But I always try to walk through the front door in the morning, say hi to every member of the team that's there, volunteer and staff, with a smile. We connect with each other because it's that connectivity that's bringing us together, this team together, that's going to lead us to the success we need for the pets. And our success is saving their lives. And many, many years ago when I was at that shelter in Maine, I was doing a webinar, and they had actually just come out with a study that found that dogs are less stressed in a kennel when they see a smiling face. Kind of like the study that you were talking about when they show these pictures.
They can read emotions.
And I remember I chimed in because there was like a Q&A portion of this. And it was given by one of these big national organizations, And I chimed in and I said, well, maybe the focus of this webinar should have been the culture and the atmosphere and the environment we can create in shelters so people are just smiling more. Not trying to tell people, well, you should be smiling more because it helps the dogs.
Right.
Why don't we focus on how do we create a shelter that isn't dark, it isn't scary, it isn't smelly, it isn't a place to feel sad and depressed, but instead it's a place to feel joy. And happiness and energy and excitement. And that's what we're doing at Father John's. That's why we've gotten the success that we have as far as how much impact we're having on saving these pets, is because we've created that atmosphere and that energy and that vibe and that team where it's like, you want to be there. Yeah, some days are hard.
Oh yeah.
There will always be hard days.
You're dealing with hard stuff.
And that's why I always say to my team, the work we do is hard enough. Let's not make it hard on each other.
Awesome.
We don't want to get down on each other. We always want to uplift each other. So we hear a lot of people, oh, well, I don't want to go there because I'm going to be sad. I can't see the animals like that or whatever. Even if you're just curious, just come out and say, you've been, come out and see the vibe.
But my response to that person is me personally, if I sit at home and I think about them, I'm just as sad.
Yeah, for sure.
If I go there, I can be that smiling face for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to be as sad as if I sit at home thinking about them alone in that cage, as if I am there and I get to pet them and their tail starts wagging and now I'm feeling good. I'm not sad, actually. I'm getting loved on by a dog, and that dog is not sad either. It's getting loved on by me. It's sad in your mind.
I'm thinking too, like to that point, right? That self-deterrent, those negative conversations with yourself that prevent you from stepping out of your comfort zone. Same thing we were talking about with going out into nature. Is it going to inhibit you from doing it? Is it going to stop you from doing it again? Whatever it is, it brings me back to thinking, you had asked questions about my background and how I ended up in animal welfare and where I am today. Do you have any idea how many times in my path to get to where I am today, I heard, Yeah, but like, what are you really going to do? How are you going to make money? How are you going to be successful? What do you mean you're going to work with animals? There's no money in that. Did you know now, since we've been through the recessions of 07, 08, 2020, the industry that has remained consistent and growing more rapid than any other industry, and now they're saying even with Gen X and Gen Z, it's going to become probably the biggest industry there is the pet industry. So it's like, if and that's obviously, people love their pets. It's driven by this desire for pets, which is good because there's so many pets without homes, and now we have so many people that want pets, right? They want to spend on their pets, which is great. But had I let one of those conversations deter me from pursuing this, I wouldn't be where I am today, doing what I am today. So the lesson to be learned is when we're going through this life and we're having people and ourselves telling us, you shouldn't do that. Think about something else. You shouldn't do that. Think about it. It's about staying true to what's happening in your gut. If it feels right, you just got to keep going with it, and you put out good energy. I'm a big advocate for karma. I'm sure you are too. I really believe that you're going to get out of this life what you give. If you're a good person, you care about the people around you, you care about yourself, and you put that energy out into the world, that's the energy you're going to get back. And it's the same thing with the dogs. If we're putting that smile out, if we're putting this energy in the kennel, the dogs are going to benefit from it. So anybody who's listening, who's thinking, I don't know if I should follow my passion because there might not be success in it, or my dad and mom told me that's a dumb idea, whatever it is, if it feels right, keep going for it. But as you do it, connect with those around you. Build a team behind you that can help you get to the success you could never achieve alone. And make sure that you're a good person. That's the most important thing. If you're a good person, then good people will be around you. That's how you attract the right team. You gotta have good morals. You gotta have good values, and you gotta want to see that person celebrate beating you, and you celebrate it with them.
Yeah.
Because then maybe next time you work together instead of against each other.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I want to highlight, I think, something that's going to show up through all of these interviews in this subject matter. You're going to, both in your own mind, but the stuff in your own mind comes from outside. You're going to have messages saying, don't follow your passion.
Yeah.
It will never work. What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you go that way? Why would you try it? They're walking a different path.
Yeah.
Or they tried up that, and then the people around them pulled them down or threw rocks at them or whatever. And they're like, no, you don't want to go that way. It's no fun. It's like, or they tried at the wrong time.
Or they just were meant to do something else.
Yeah.
And they're going to find a passion in a different area. Sometimes adversity becomes our greatest opportunity, because you learn so much about yourself, right? And it's okay to fail, right? Because when you fail, you gain wisdom, you gain resilience, you can gain confidence when you see yourself back, bounce back out of the failure. So maybe that person just they needed to go through that because they had a lesson to be learned, because they were still rebuilding that broken foundation that we were talking about earlier. And now they need to build an empire on that foundation somewhere else, and it just created the avenue for you. You can, of course, learn from other people.
Oh, sure.
But you can't listen to one other person's experience and expect that to be your experience.
Right.
You're your own person. You have your own energy. You have your own experiences, and don't let one person tear you down, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And also, don't let a whole bunch of people tear you down.
It might be a lot of people. Oh man, I've been there. Yeah,
that's on some of my big passion points. When I share them, the first response people have is, that'll never work, or good luck with that one. It's like, all right, so you're not the one supporting me. That's fine. You didn't put out my flame.
Yep.
This is mine. I'm going to carry it. And I learned that you're not the one I'll talk to about it.
Exactly.
You need to adopt that attitude, or you will quit on your path very early, because as soon as you start on your path, people are going to tell you no. Either because they are going to be jealous of the success you're headed towards, or they've tried down there and they're trying to protect you, or whatever their reasons are, you're going to have people telling you not to follow that path. And a lot of these things, people are saying like, how are you going to make any money?
Yeah.
Is that what you think I'm after? This is my passion. Money is not my passion. Money is a resource for supporting your passions. So many people are chasing it where their passion is their own comfort and pleasure.
Yes.
And that's the rule. Why would you go do that hard thing for barely any comfort and pleasure? It's like, you don't understand the pleasure I get by living this life.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is, when you're thinking about pursuing that passion, you can't do it for self. It has to be for the purpose, because or else it can feed into that loop of, it's all about me. Mm-hmm. I need to be happy. I need to do what's going to make me happy. And it's not about you, and if that's what you're pursuing, you're always going to feel unfulfilled, because what you need to be pursuing is the purpose, the impact of what you're doing, not doing it for yourself, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And then there's also, I want to offer, just while it's on subject, of people can get caught in the trap of, well, I'm doing it for the purpose, but I have to do this first, so then I can do that. And an example I'll give is, I've heard so many people be like, oh, I'd love to just be in a position where I could be that person who goes out and buys 50 hamburgers from that hamburger shop and then goes and hands it out to the homeless. Like, or I could be that person who comes in and writes that check to this person. And it's like, but I need to go make that money first. I'd love to be in that position. And it's like, you're in a position to go help, because that's what you just said you want to do. You want to go help. Go do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford that financially right now, what can you afford?
Give something else.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got something, and it could just be your time.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait till I have the bank account says this and then I can go do my purpose.
It also doesn't need to be such a grand gesture, right? Just be that person that calls your friend.
Right.
Just be that person that calls your mom. I have a super strong core friend group, and always have. Super blessed to have it. And it takes effort, right? Every relationship takes effort. I could so easily get caught up in I'm a young dad. My life is busy. I have so many pets. I have a wife. I have 2 young kids. I have a job. I don't have time to care about them. And you have to. And it starts there, and then it grows from there. If you're this type of person who's going to go and buy these hamburgers and hand them out, but then not show up for your mom on Thanksgiving,
right?
You're not having an impact where it really matters. So you got to start
or
there.
Or you go hand them out, but nobody watches your video, so you feel like it was a failure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because
right?
You're doing it for the wrong reason.
Right.
You're doing it for self.
Right.
Yeah. Do it for them
It
first.
has to be this alignment with, this is my truth. I'm not doing this for where you said you can't do it for yourself, but you also, more so, don't do it for something outside of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do it for the bigger thing, which is really like, we have to get people first out of this camp of doing it for the external. Well, because my mom will be happy, or because my dad told me, or because my coach said, or because society says. No, you have to make it more selfish than that. This love yourself phase that we've been seeing our culture go through, make it more selfish. You need to do it for you, not for them. And then once you get that established, don't do it for you either.
Yeah.
Do it for, like you said, the purpose. And nothing else. It's because this is the calling. This is the right thing to do. And this is my calling to do it. This is my path. For you, it's supporting these animals, right? And the people. And building those teams and fixing the structure and the system of all of it. But it's following your purpose.
Brian, so much of it is mindset, like you were talking about before, because it's just so easy to think, you're somebody out there watching this, and it's so easy to think, well, man, they haven't had it hard. They haven't gone through it.
Right.
They haven't had it as hard as I have, and this and that. And the reality is we all go through hard things in life, right? And we all go through the same hardest thing, which is loss. So we all universally will have that in common. We're all going to lose those we love, or lose ourselves. Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to have it harder than each of us. Everybody has it just as hard as everybody else. You have to have that mindset. of I'm going to look at these adversities, I'm going to look at these difficulties, I'm going to look at these challenges as opportunity to grow as a person, be a better person, and become the person I want to be when nobody's looking. Like you were saying, if nobody watches your video of you doing this generous act, do you still feel like you did it? Do you still feel as fulfilled as why you did it? And I think the more that our relationship with God or whatever it is that you believe in is really just a relationship that there's somebody watching you all the time. And I think it's to inspire us to think we need to be who we want to be when we're alone and nobody's looking, which means who I am in my thoughts, who I am to my core. Am I true to my purpose in my soul? Or am I still trying to serve self? And if you continually try to serve self, you're never going to be truly happy. And I think, so yeah, I do think there's this trend right now to always make yourself happy, which you should, but it's that we're searching in the wrong areas. We're searching for success. We're searching for money. We're searching for views. We're searching for likes. We're searching for, I'm so disconnected from that world. I don't even know. I'm just using the lingo.
That's Raj's job.
Yeah. But if we started to just say, well, why don't you search to be the person you'd be proud everyone knew who you were, even if they never see it.
Nice.
And then you'll really start to be happy and be fulfilled. And you have to have the right people around you, man. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You got to have the right people to challenge you, to push you. My wife is just the biggest part of my life, and we've been together for 12 years, and she challenges me and she pushes me, and she's also supported me. You know how crazy it was when I took this job at first, Brian? Like, it was like, you gonna do what now? Because at the time I was running a relatively successful business, working for myself, and I got hired as the kennel manager at Father John's. And the director at the time, I was going there and doing lessons on how to read dog body language and introduce dogs together and everything. And the director at the time reached out to me and said, hey, do you know anybody that might be interested in this kennel manager position? And I so wanted to get back into the shelter world, not just doing lectures and stuff, because I was giving lectures for multiple organizations and stuff, but it wasn't the same as being there and living and breathing it. And I was like, yeah, I might. And she was like, get your ass over here. She texted me, and I went over, and that was 10 years. That was over 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And we weren't married yet or anything like that. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and at that time with 2 dogs and 2 cats. And I said, I'm going to take this job, and without hesitation, go for it. She's always been like that with whatever I wanted to do. Just go for it. And obviously she's an animal lover too. And, but you have that support system, and it's huge. But then you have her too to question you, right? Like sometimes I'm talking about decisions I've made or things that are happening at work that she would have no idea about. And you get her, perspective, which is, you're acting like an idiot. There's such a better way to be doing this or whatever. And that's the kind of people you need around. And, I'm super fortunate that we found each other, and now she continues to push me. And it's just amazing to see that now really she's on such a spiritual journey, my wife, which is new for her and for me, and to be a part of it and watch it has been really, really awesome. And, at first it was scary, and you're like, what are you doing? And this isn't what I signed up for. And then you take a step back and you say, what am I doing? What kind of teammate am I now? And now, we're about 3 years into this whole thing, and it's awesome, and it's been awesome for me. And, people need to get out there and find the right partner in life, find the right team. And the only way you do that is when you stop searching for yourself and you start searching for others. And, I went through a really tough time in Maine, personally, emotionally, psychologically. It was me and Doug. I'm living alone in a basement apartment.
Oh, basement in Maine's tough. You get no
It's
sunlight.
dark.
No sunlight.
Yeah, it was cold, and you're in your own thoughts, and you're not nearly the man you need to be to handle it. But you think you are when you're 21,
Invincible,
22 or
yeah.
whatever. You're Superman. And I called my best friend in the world. No, I want some cold, actually. Did I have cold? I might have drank it already. So imagine this. I'm in that basement apartment. I'm alone. It's dark. It's sad. It's as disgusting as you could imagine for a 22-year-old man just sitting in there feeling sorry for yourself.
I've seen some pretty gross things in my life.
This was bad, Brian. So who do I call? I called my mom. And I told her the truth. I said, I'm having a hard time. Which is hard for a man to be vulnerable.
Especially in our culture today.
Especially because from the outside looking in.
Easier today than in the past.
Oh,
but
easier today.
Man in our culture.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Exactly. And from the outside looking in, I'm doing everything I said I was going to do. I got my degree early. I'm working at the shelter. I got my dog.
Why am I?
My mom's shocked. What's going on? What are you talking about? And immediately she goes, I'm coming up. She drives up. This was my mom, dude. I had the best mom in the world. God rest her soul. She was the best person that's ever been in my life, 100%. She drives up, gets with me, and hears everything that's going on. I tell her the truth, my thoughts, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling about myself. And she says, it's time to go. I said, what do you mean? I got a job. It's time to go. Let's go. I'm like, okay. Talk to my boss the next day. Totally supportive, understands. I said, I got to go. And came back here to New Jersey for 3 months. I lived in my parents' basement. Then I got a job. I got a job at a dog boarding facility. I'm back doing what I love to do. Me and Doug moved into this apartment, and every day on every Friday, I'd get my paycheck, and I'm making. You can imagine what somebody's making at a dog boarding facility. I'm not making any money, okay? I'm wearing bleach-stained shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm going to the bank with my dog and cashing my check. And, I start to notice there's a pretty good-looking teller at the bank. And then one day she says, is that your dog in the car? I said, yeah, that's Doug. She said, bring him out. So I bring my dog out. Doug meets the ladies, the teller ladies or whatever. He gets back in the car. We're driving off. I'm like, Doug, we might have found it, man. This could be it. This could be it. And so the next Friday, I go to cash my check, and it's a different teller. And that teller goes, so you come in here with this other girl. I'm wondering who that girl is. I said, well, why are you asking? She said, well, the other teller with the blonde hair, she was wondering if that girl's your girlfriend. I said, well, that girl's not my girlfriend. She's my best friend. One of my best friends is Katie. She's been a best friend of mine since kindergarten. And I'm like, why? And she was like, oh, she just asked me to ask or whatever. So I leave. I get back in the car. Katie's with me. She's in the car. I get back in the car. I'm like, Katie, I think this girl might be into me. No, you're full of it, whatever.
Get over yourself.
So I remember I was telling my sister about it. And my sister's my biggest critic, as every sister should be. She thinks I'm terrible. She thinks I'm never good enough.
She's seen all of it.
Yeah, and she's way older.
Watch you be terrible.
She's 5 years older than me, and so she just, I'm just the worst, And I remember telling her, this bank teller is into me. She's like, you're so full of yourself. There's no way. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. She's actually with me, right? She's in the car. I go to cash my check. Sister waits in the car. I'm walking in, and I start to get nervous because I can see this teller's my teller, you know. My heart's starting to pound. I'm sweating, you know. I go up on, you know, just small talk or whatever. She cashes my check. She hands me a receipt. She smiles at me. I grab the receipt. I'm walking out. I flip it over, and on the back of it is her name and phone number. I get back in the car. I'm like, look at this. My sister thinks I made this whole thing up. She's like, you wrote it on there, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And that's how we met. And then we went out and we've, you know, just been together ever since. We knew on our first date that we were going to be together forever, and we have been. And it's been such an interesting ride. But it was, you know, again, the man I am today and the things I've learned, and I look back at those moments, and I used to, in the early days, think that low was who I was. This dark space where you didn't want to be you anymore. You weren't good enough. You didn't want to live anymore. Your every conversation with yourself is negative. I thought that was me. I thought that was how I was always going to define myself. And then you lean on the great people around you. You pick yourself up. You stay true to your passion and to the pursuit of the purpose and the impact that you want to have in life. You put out a good energy and a good vibe. You dust yourself off and you say, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to put out that energy anymore. I want to be a bright light and not a dark hole. And all of a sudden, everything just starts to fall into place, you know? And honestly, to what we were talking about before, where I was at, it would have been so easy to give up on Doug, on my dog, because I got to move him in with my parents' pets and this and that. And I leaned so heavy on that dog. Doug became everything to me. He became my pillow at night. He became my purpose to get up and get moving every day. You know, even those days when I was not wanting to get out of bed or get out of my apartment, I had to, right? Because Doug had to go on a walk. Doug's got to go out to go to the bathroom. So it just built that constant that we were talking about, built that appreciation for that constant that he was. I leaned so heavy on him in my darkest hour, and he's who brought me out of it. And so often in the animal welfare industry, we see that when people hit their darkest hour, it's, well, I can't care for them anymore, and I got to give them up. And I implore them, don't make that decision. Lean on them. Lean heavy on them. Let them drive you, because they're going to give you purpose every day. And through that everyday purpose of being that caregiver, you're going to realize and develop an understanding that you're going to have a bigger purpose on the other side of this. And it's those small wins, man, like we were talking about before. I got up today. I got out. I walked my dog. I had a good time. Yeah. And then you build on those, and you build an impact as you go. And then you fall in love, man. And that's just the best ride of all.
I want to make a comment of there's two things I want to get out right now. Okay. One, I want to touch on what you just said. Two, my therapy practice timer's going. We probably passed over 2 hours a little.
Okay.
I want to ask a couple of like close up, wrap up questions to be respectful of your time.
Okay.
But the thing I wanted to mention that I want to explore with you in more detail, it could be off camera, and then when we come together with this stuff, I'd love to put some stuff out and get it once we figure it out. But let's look into, you said so many of these calls come when people are grieving and they're like, I just can't care for these pets in these times. And then you have the offering of, yeah, but that's really when it's like that bond really grows, and that pet doesn't want to be rejected then either. And they can feel your suffering. So like there's all these reasons not to. But let's look into what different ways we could support people for that first hump of the transition.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, but I literally can't care for them well enough.
Yes.
It's breaking my heart that I'm not serving them. I'm neglecting them.
Yeah.
So let's find out, like, because this is where Father John's is not equipped with mental health professionals to deal with that.
Yeah.
Let's see what there are other support services out there.
And we do lean
Let's
on
see
someone.
what kind of partnerships we can look into to help people who are going through that so they don't give up their pet, but instead they get that support. Like you said, you had your mom, amazing, to come support you in that time, and then your family to be like, no, keep the dog.
Yeah.
Made it easier for you. Let's see about finding those supports for people where it's like, no, don't give up your pet. We'll help you get over that hump. Make sure you and your dog are fed.
Yes.
We'll call, we'll check in on you. But that, like you said, when you have that responsibility to get up, something to care for, but then that thing also gives it back to you and loves you.
Everything.
You can grow out of that thing that could have killed you.
Yes. And, you know, we do, it's funny because now you're making my mind spin because typically we see it with like temporary homelessness. And we, you know, it's not necessarily like a mental health crisis or something along those lines.
It's circumstance.
It's circumstance. And we do lean on some partner organizations in Sussex County, and they'll reach out to us and say what's there available. And actually right now, it's going to end soon, March 1st, but right now, one of our employees is temporarily fostering a cat for a family that was displaced and was in a program here in Sussex waiting for their permanent housing that they're supposed to move in March. So, you know, it's those little wins, but there's more need than we're meeting right now. So I agree with you. I think we have to collaborate a little bit further and think, well, besides homelessness, what about these other crises people go through? What can we do to support them? And developing some sort of like temporary crisis management program is a must because it's one of those things where we're doing it kind of ad hoc right now. Like, okay, you got the phone, be a person, be a human being and help these people. But we don't have anything concrete and we need to.
And how are other shelters going to replicate it if they don't have the people and the team of Father John's and you don't have a template to be like, well, follow this.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, just do what
So
we do.
true.
It's like, well, what do you do? It's like, well, you know.
So true.
So like,
so
let's look into that more. I want to set that aside for now because I don't want to just start chewing up time. I want to ask you a little more as we like wrap up of, are there any things that you want to share right now about what Father John's has going on or things that you have going on there, things that putting out in the airwaves? Let's make sure that anyone who's listened to this far can really hear about what's going on, where they could see about things, get more involved, or just what you're excited about with it before we start to wrap up with our reflections of the discussion.
I'm always excited at Father John's. There's always something happening at Father John's, and it's been such an awesome journey these last 10 years there. We're only going to continue to grow and continue to diversify our programming to meet these ever-evolving needs of the community around us. But it takes everybody getting involved. There's so many different ways to support your local shelter. There's so many different ways for your talents to have real impact, positive impact on these otherwise homeless pets. So a lot of people go, I want to help, I just don't know how. If you've, like I was saying earlier, if you've ever been curious about it, just reach out to us, come to the shelter, check out what we're doing and get involved. Who we were in 1999 is nowhere near who we are today. And the only reason we've gotten to that point is because our organization exists in the best community possible with the most amazing people. There is no organization without the sum of the people that come there every day. There's nothing outside of us. It's just us. That's it. It's all of us connecting. It's building that kinetic energy between each other and forming this team. And it's very possible that you could be the next big thing that we need to come out. So, that would be my message. Just come be a part of this because it is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Definitely, I'll just parrot anybody who's ever even been curious. Even if you're not local to us, anywhere that you are, I don't care where this message gets to, go visit your local animal shelters.
Yeah.
Even with no intention, and even some people like myself, I have to set boundaries before I walk in that door. I will not walk out with an animal. I'm one of those people who I still haven't found that boundary with plants yet. I can always find room for another plant. I need to settle that down.
But I'm going to have to call somebody after this, make them aware of it.
Right.
You know, I think Brian's got too many plants.
No, I pass them out. That's good. I'm kind of like a shelter in that regard with plants. But with the animal, go. Go visit, go spend some time. You'll feel good. You also get to do the good thing. And then maybe in some conversation with some folks, you find out how you can help more. How either by getting more involved or connecting your resources or people you know that want to get involved. And now you're learning about different stuff, different avenues, the things going on in your community and how we can all, because like you said, it's not this external thing that makes everything happen. It's the people.
Yeah.
We are all those people. None of us can do it individually. You feel like you're too small to make a big difference. That's partially true, but you're not too small to make a big difference if you're a part of a bigger thing.
And in today's day and age,
my pinky nail can only do so much, but my pinky nail attached to my whole body can do a lot. And it doesn't have to do everything because the rest of the body's doing things too.
It serves its own purpose. And in today's day and age, the reality is you can have positive impact just by following us, just by sharing some of our content, telling your friends about what we do. So even if you are so far away, just being motivated by what Father John stands for and the work that we're doing and sharing that message literally comes back to help the pets. Especially when it's a small organization like us, everything ultimately flows back to help the pets.
Awesome. With that, I'd like to offer just a little bit of any big takeaways or things that are stirring in your head or whatnot from our conversation as we near our close.
I think my head is stirring on, we even touched on some really big problems. You think about these systemic issues with pet homelessness in particular, but really what it all comes back to, like through our conversation, we kept going back to and back to is these micro decisions within self, right? To garner and maintain positive relationships with ourselves, with those around us. And just like what you're saying right now about how you ultimately need to become a cog in the wheel. You're not the wheel yourself, and the sooner that we all accept that, then we start to look for the right people to have on our team, the right people to partner with in life. The happier we are, the more impactful our work becomes and the better our society gets as a whole. And I think when you really break it down like that, every piece of our conversation that we've had over those last 2 hours or whatever it's been has really been in relation to developing that skill of having positive conversations with yourself and letting yourself develop strong relationships closely with people right around you.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Thank you so much, Garret, for taking the time out of your schedule and your day, and on a day when maybe you could have used the rest, but I know you well enough at this point of meeting you 3 or 4 times now. I think this is the 4th time we met, but it feels like we've known each other forever.
Yeah, feels great.
But just really appreciate you taking the time to offer what you did to me, to us, to record this, but really, I appreciate you. I know you're not doing it for praise, but I really want to acknowledge that I respect what you do through your work, through your services, for the animals, for the community, for all living things, really, because that's the way this trickles out. That, I want to acknowledge, appreciate, and just speak my gratitude for what you do, knowing you're not doing it to hear that, to receive that. You're doing it because that is your calling, your purpose, your passion. But that's what these interviews are, to find those people who are doing that. Let them share a little bit of that story, and then if whoever listens can learn something from it. And the message is usually going to cross the lines of, at some point there's struggle, at some point there's people telling you no, at some point you're going to think it's not going to work.
Yep.
But if you stick true to it, it's more fulfilling than any of those other things that we try to satisfy ourselves with until we really stick to that truth of our purpose and passion.
100%.
So,
thank you, Brian.
Wonderful discussion. Thanks, Garret, and I look forward to the next time.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.